Ibanez PIA review follow-up video. This week I've broken away from the fingerstyle course, and that's because I've had so many requests for the follow-up video to the Ibanez PIA review. I thought I'd better get it out of the way. And it was some time ago I made that video. So if you'd like to watch it first, I've put the link down below in the description to make it easier to find. And the first thing I'll do is answer people's questions. Common questions about the Ibanez PIA. The first question I've had is, what was wrong with the alignment of the strings and did I manage to correct it? And the good news about this question is that it wasn't the tremolo that was out of line as I initially thought, but it was the neck that was out of line. And this is really easy to correct. To correct the problem, you don't even have to take the strings off or anything. Just loosen the 4 screws in the back of the neck. And when I say loosen, by a tiny amount, at the most half a turn. You just want it so that the neck will stay in place but will be able to move without you forcing the guitar. Then you just push the neck over, pulling on the horn and pushing on the neck, or you can put the guitar between your legs and push on the neck until you can see that the strings line up. And when you're happy with the alignment, you just tighten the screws back up and it's sorted. And with this particular PIA, it was really easy. I just had to loosen the neck slightly and there was enough side to side play in the neck to allow me just to adjust it that little bit so that the strings could be completely in line. And interestingly, in the comments there was a lot of people mentioned that they had the same problem, and they were all gold PIAs. Now, if you've got a PIA of a different colour that's had this problem, I'd love to know, so please leave a comment down below, because as far as I know, at the moment, it only seems to be the gold ones that have had this problem. Another question I got quite a lot of was from people who owned the Ibanez 7V, and they were either thinking of upgrading to a PIA, or they had upgraded to the PIA, and they noticed that the two guitars feel quite different. Yet the specs were more or less the same. And I must admit, I find this true as well myself. It's quite weird playing the PIA. It does feel very different to the JEM 7V. Now, if you go to the Ibanez website and look at the specifications for both the necks, they're more or less the same, except for one measurement, and that's the radius of the fingerboard. For those of you who don't know what a radius is, you might remember from your maths that a radius is the measurement from the centre of a circle to the outer edge. And we use the circle measurement as being the way to measure the curve on the fingerboard of your guitar. So to exaggerate this, to make it obvious, if you take a 5-inch radius and compare that to a 20-inch radius, you'll see that the 5-inch is really curved, whereas the 20-inch is nearly flat in comparison. So what we get from this is that the larger the radius, the flatter the fingerboard will be. Now, if we look at the radius of the neck on the Ibanez 7V, it's 400 millimeters, and the radius on the PIA is 430 millimeters. So it's only a difference of 30 millimeters. Unfortunately, I haven't got any radius gauges that are in millimeters, but I can show you the nearest equivalent in inches, and that would be 16 inches and 17 inches. And you can see, looking at these, there's virtually no difference between the 16-inch radius and the 17-inch radius. So this would make a minimal difference to the feel of the neck. So I went through all the measurements myself on both the 7V and the PIA, and as you might expect, they were exactly the same as the measurements given on the website. But there's one measurement that wasn't included, and I did this measurement as well. And that measurement is the height of the frets. Now, it's worth me pointing out that it does say on the PIA spec that they've put jumbo stainless steel frets on it. And this does make quite a big difference. And to prove what I found, I'll show you how I did the measurements. And I used a plunge micrometer, which is what I usually use to set up the height of a nut. And firstly, I calibrated it to the fingerboard surface. And then I measured the height of the fret. And I measured the fret height at the 15th fret between the A and the D string. And the reason I did this is because my JEM 7V is well worn now, so most of the frets have some fret wear on, except up here. So I'm doing the measurements at this area of the fingerboard because the frets are more or less pristine. And the results I got are that the Ibanez JEM 7V has a fret height of 1.15 and the Ibanez PIA has a fret height of 1.4, which is a difference of 0.25. And you might not think that's much of a difference, but when you add that to the slightly different radius, the guitars have quite a different feel. And if I'm completely honest, you just need to practice for a little bit using the PIA and you'll soon get used to it. And it's not a bad feel, it's just different to the 7V. And it's really worth getting used to that feel because the slightly thicker stainless steel frets will last a lot longer than the standard frets on the 7V. You can see here on my 2005 7V, which has been well played, the frets are pretty much worn down and ready for redressing or even replacing. Another question I was asked was from someone who'd actually returned a PIA because they weren't pleased with the finish of the paint inside the monkey grips. And I must admit, it's not as smooth as it could be, but I wouldn't return this particular guitar because of it, because it's not that bad. However, this might be something that's more dependent on the colour, because with this gold one, even from quite close up, you can't tell it's got any problems with the finish. However, you can feel it's a bit rough, but with different colours, this might show up from a distance, and then I can really understand why people want to send it back, especially if you've paid so much for a guitar. Another question I had, or more a comment or observation, was that the patterning on the pickups might affect the tone. And it's a fair point really. However, don't forget that these pickups would have been designed with the shroud in mind. So the cover, any effect it has on the sound will have been accounted for with the design of the pickups. In my opinion, these are really nice sounding pickups. They're not quite as hot as the 7V, but tonally they're more rounded. But for anyone who still might be concerned that the decorative cover might affect the magnetic field, I did some tests. The first test I did was just to look at the magnetic field using magnetic field viewing film. Firstly, I put the film directly on the pickups of both the JEM 7V and the PIA. Here you can see me putting it on the PIA and cleaning up the image. Then I placed the film on top of the strings for both the JEM and the PIA and compared the two guitars. Here are the results I got for both guitars with the film straight on the pickups. And here are the results I got with the film on top of the strings. Hopefully you can see there's virtually no difference, and you definitely can't see a pattern coming through from the PIA pickups. But I didn't stop there. I did some tests with a Hall sensor and a Tesla meter, and I use these for measuring the strength and direction of the magnetic fields around the pickup. And the results are quite interesting in that the PIA has noticeably stronger magnets than the JEM 7V. So I'm confident that the magnetic field around the strings isn't affected by the covers. However, I do have to warn you that magnetism does fade over time, and as I've already said, this is a 2005 JEM. And for anyone wondering why someone should ask about the magnetic field of a pickup, or why I should deem it important enough to test, there's only two components in a pickup. That's the magnet and a copper coil. So the type and effectiveness of your magnet really affects the tone of the guitar in a massive way. In the future, I do hope to do a video on the science of pickups, because it's really interesting. Before we leave the subject of the pickups, there's one last thing I'd like to point out about them. And that is, as much as I love these pickups and I think they make a great sound, the pattern can be really annoying. Because it's not coloured onto the pickups, it's actually cut through the cover. So there's sharp edges that you can catch your pick on, or if you play with your nails, you'll catch your nails on. But if you habitually play between the pickups, this wouldn't be a problem to you. However, if you're one of the many people who plays over the pickups, you'll find you'll have to make sure you don't dig deep with your pick or your nails, or you might find you have to lower the pickup, which will obviously affect the sound. And that's really the only criticism I've got of the whole guitar. However, I will probably change the scratch plate, because the scratch plate shows marks really badly, and finger marks and scratches. However, you can easily change this. So I'll probably change the scratch plate in time with either a pearloid one or a satin one, like you get on the new version of the PIA, which is all black. And probably the most important thing you want from a guitar is the sound. And the great thing about this guitar is it's the only guitar you need. Because of the setup of the pickups and the electrics, and providing you've got the effects, you can produce everything from a 60s sound to a really screaming lead. And virtually every kind of sound in between, so you don't have to keep changing between guitars all the time. And really I expected this, being an update from the JEM, and if anything slightly warmer sounding than the JEM. I can use the same guitar for different electric guitar styles quite easily. Hopefully I've answered all the questions that were put to me from the review video. However, if I've missed any of the questions, or if you have any new ones, please put them down below in the comments and I'll answer you as quickly as I can. To be honest, I don't do many videos like this, as I try to stick to guitar lessons where I can. So if you're looking for free guitar lessons, just head on over to my channel and you'll see lots there. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. And if you want to see more guitar related videos, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And then you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Or if you want to see complete guitar courses in order, go to www.ibanez ebooks4guitar.com, and there you'll find lots of courses completely free, and you can view the ebooks online to follow along with what I'm teaching. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.